Every app in the world is powered by data. The most popular tool to manage data is the spreadsheet, and so Glide uses the power of spreadsheets to help you make apps. A Glide app lives on the web and can be accessed simply via a link. This makes them much easier to share and update than a traditional App Store app. We can start with a template from the Glide gallery, or we can make an app from a spreadsheet we already own. If we start with a template, we'll get a copy of this app in our Glide account, plus a copy of the Google Sheet in our Drive. Now we can customize our app and add our own data in the sheet. If we already have a spreadsheet with data in, we can generate a basic app as a starting point, and then start to customize the way our data appears. We're going to go over the fundamentals of Glide in this video, but you can read and watch much more at glideapps.com/learn. Before creating an app, we need to have a basic Google Sheet containing the rows of data we'd like to display. The first row needs to be column names. For example, if we're making an employees app for our company, the first row can contain column names like name, title, email, phone, and photo, because these are the properties that each of our employees have. After the first row, every following row should have values in each of those columns. It's okay to leave some cells empty, but Glide works better if we don't leave big gaps between rows and columns. Now we can click New App in Glide and pick our spreadsheet. Glide will read the data and create a default app as a basic starting point. Now we can get to work customizing our app in the way that we want. When we first import our spreadsheet, Glide will make tabs based on the different sheets in our spreadsheet, but we can customize how these appear in the tabs area. Let's hide the Reports tab and change the icons for the others. We can also rename them, and this won't affect the names in our spreadsheet. If we create new sheets in our spreadsheet, we can add them to Glide, so long as they have data in. To make a new tab in Glide, we can head to the Tabs area, click the plus button, and choose our new source sheet. We can see that the rows in our sheet have become a list of items in our app. Each item shows data from a few of the cells in that row. When we tap on one of these items, we get taken to that item's details screen, which then shows the columns of that row in components. These are the two fundamental layouts in Glide: list screens, which show multiple rows, and then detail screens, which can show all or some of the data for an entire row. Both of these are highly customizable. Let's look at list layouts first. If we tap back to our main list, we can access the layout settings for this screen. Currently, we're viewing a standard list layout, but we can change it to a number of other styles. Each style will display some of the columns in our sheet as properties for each of the list items. For example, at the moment, our list displays each employee's image, name, and number, but we could change the number to be email instead. Or, with this particular list layout, we could add it as an additional caption to the list. Now we've customized our list layout for this tab, we can tap through on our top item. We're now looking at the data from the top row of our sheet and can see that Glide has automatically added some components to show the data in each of our columns. Each component is tied or linked to a column, and if we change the data in that column, it will update in Glide. Although Glide has added these components for us, we can edit or delete them, or even add new components. We have complete control over what data we want to display and which components we want to display our data in. Let's delete the basic text component, which is displaying the employee's number, and then add a phone component and link that to the same column. Now users can text or call this number simply by tapping on this component. We can also swap a component's column, meaning that if we add a component and it's connected to the wrong column, we can just simply swap the column that it's connected to. If in future we add more columns to our sheet, we'll need to add new components to display that data in our app. New columns we add in our sheet don't automatically appear in Glide. If we delete columns that are linked to existing components, those components will no longer have data, and so Glide will remove these for us. When we go back to our main list and then click on another record, we can see that the edits that we made to our layout of components have also applied to this details screen. Whatever we do to one list item's details screen will apply to all others in that list. This allows us to make very quick updates to potentially thousands of records in our app. It also allows us to design screens for rows that don't exist in our sheet yet. So if more rows get added to our sheet or our users add their own data, it will be formatted exactly how we designed it, without us having to do anything. Glide is actually pretty flexible, and there is a lot more to the design process than this. For example, you could hide or show different components on different list items, or you could have more than one list on a single screen. But you can find out more about this and other topics in our documentation. Once we've customized our other tabs, we can customize the overall look and feel of our app. Let's go to the settings area and change the icon. We can choose from a range of emojis or upload our own image. We can then choose an accent color and then decide on an overall theme for our app. When we create our app, it's in draft mode until we hit publish. In order to share our app and allow people to add it to their phone, we can click the share button in Glide. After we hit publish, our app will be live. Now the share app section gives us a few ways of sharing our app with the world. We can scan the QR code with our phone, text the link to someone, or copy the app's URL. We can also change this URL here to make it easier to remember. This is currently a free app and therefore has a glideapp.io subdomain. We can upgrade our app to Pro to make it more powerful and also allow us to point it at our own custom URL. Once we upgrade our app, the Share App modal will allow us to add our own custom domain. We have separate documentation on how to set this all up, which you can follow. After we've configured our custom domain, we can now text the link to someone. A Glide app lives on the web and can be accessed via a link. Users can view this in their browser, or they can add it to their home screen next to other apps. To do this on iOS, we visit the apps link in Safari, click Share, and Add to Home Screen. It's important to visit this link in the Safari browser. This won't work in in-app browsers like Facebook's browser or Instagram. On Android, when we visit the link, we should get a prompt to add it to our home screen. If not though, we can just tap the menu icon and Add to Home Screen. Once our app is out in the world and people are using it, it's likely that we're going to want to make occasional updates to it. Changes we make to the data in our sheet, like changes to cells or adding new rows, will be synced to our app within 3 minutes. Changes we make to the layout of our app, like changes to components or our theme, can take up to 10 minutes to appear in existing apps, but should be available immediately for new users. Changes that are added within the app by users sync back up to the sheet in seconds. And if we're in the builder editing our app and we'd like to see the changes that we've made in our sheet immediately, we can hit Reload Sheet. So that's a quick overview of Glide. Of course, there's a lot more functionality that you can build into your app, but you can learn more about this over at glideapps.com/learn.